Wonderful. Welcome one and all to the first ever UDisc Smart Layouts webinar. My name is David Gurton with the UDisc Customer Success team. I'm joined by a couple of my colleagues here today. A few of them, you can see their faces on the call, and a few are just hanging out in the background to monitor the chat and the questions functionality within this webinar, which are a few of the ways that you can engage. We're going to be talking about best practices for smart layouts, what's new with Map Manager, and all of the other fun functionalities that are related to smart layouts, such as round ratings and layout difficulty. And we really appreciate you being along for the ride with us here. I'll briefly introduce my team, and I have a quick kind of a table of contents slideshow that we're just going to give you the rundown of what to expect during today's live session. We will be following up with an email after the webinar. We'll be providing the recording of this webinar. It's already recording, and we're also going to be following up with any questions that we might not be able to get to during the live session. However, we're going to do our best to get to any and all questions today during this live session. So I've already introduced myself. You can see my colleague Jen here as well. Jen works on the customer success team with me, and she put together a lot of the prep work for this webinar, including this intro slide. Noah is our web development expert on the call. He's been working on a lot of improvements to Map Manager recently, which is a course tool hub that I'll be showing off in a product demo today, and it looks and feels and works a lot better now. So hopefully you'll find that it's just super streamlined for you. And I think you'll find, if you're already familiar with Map Manager, that it really does work the same. It just looks and feels a lot better now, and it gives you even more tools at your disposal. Duca is also on the call here. Duca is our data science expert on the call, who can shed a lot more light and expertise into things like layout difficulty classifications and round ratings that are really data driven. And that's Duca's areas of expertise. So I'm going to go ahead and just punch through this intro slide so that you know what to expect. And here's a few images, including Hannah, Becky, Kate, and Teresa, who are all going to be helping with fielding questions and getting to the chat today. You can see Duca's ugly sweater from 2021. That was the ugly sweater competition winner a couple of years ago at the UDisc end of year party. And I mentioned the chat and the questions functionality. There's also a reaction, which I'm seeing some people are already reacting, which is really great. So if you'd like to, send some emojis our way, awesome. People are finding the reactions, and that's wonderful. So I don't need to belabor this point of ways to engage, but appreciate you being here and engaging. In case you were wondering, audience members are on mute, and although we are recording this, your camera's not on, so you don't have to worry about what's going on in the background in your rooms. This is a brief overview of what to expect in the webinar. I'm going to be going through a demo, and we're going to be talking through the ins and outs of how these types of things work and what is new. And the whole notes and TSign images are just a couple of those Map Manager updates that Noah's been working on. Looks like I might have advanced a little early there, but we're going in the right direction anyway. So smart layouts, that's what it's all about. That's going to be the bulk of the webinar today, is demonstrating smart layouts. What are smart layouts and why are they valuable? They're a major improvement over the classic layout experience, and they're tied to a lot of these data-driven updates in UDisc. The smart layout also improves the player experience when you're out on the course. So you can see this little, somewhat subtle orange smart layout icon in the upper right of an active scorecard. When you are keeping score, you can hit that orange smart layout icon to actually change the T-pad or target, I should say. So if you decide that you're playing the longs layout, you create a scorecard on the longs layout, but then you want to play short to short, the short tee to the short pin on a specific hole, you can hit that orange smart layouts button in the upper right in the mobile app. When you're in the middle of your scorecard, you can change the scorecard to say, I'm actually playing from the short tee pad and I'm playing to this short pin position. and the UDisc app will then know what you're actually playing, so that your performance data, when you enter your score, is tied to the actual fairway and the actual hole that you're playing. And we'll get into more detail about why that's important, because this round ratings and the layout difficulty classifications are based on a hole by hole data point. So it's not just you're playing the longs to longs anymore. Now you can get specific about which holes you're playing longs to longs and which holes you might not be. All right. Now, next is going to be layout difficulty. So you might have seen these in the app. They're also on the web. In the course tools, you're now going to see layout difficulty. So the layout difficulty comes alongside round ratings, and they do work in tandem with one another. Once your smart layouts are all set up, you're going to be able to get these layout difficulty classifications if enough players have kept a scorecard on that smart layout. And you can see a couple of examples here. Maple Hill is a good example of a course that has a bunch of different layout difficulty classifications. Everything's pretty technical out there in the woods, but the Gold's layout, for example, is super long, and then the Red's layout is short. And they have different layout difficulties in between, like the whites are a mid-length, and then the blues and the diamonds are long, but not super long like the golds are. Hole notes and TSign images. This is the last slide in our intro, and it's actually going to be one of the first things that we're demonstrating because it's available on the Map Manager page. You do also have some smart layout specific tools for hole notes and TSign images, or at least hole notes, I should say. And the hole notes are basically things like OB rules for the hole. The TSign images would be just like what you see here. You can actually put a digital TSign image or a photo of the physical TSign image that's in the ground in the UDisc Map Manager page now, which will show up for players expandable when they're in their scorecard. So this, again, just gives players that much more information in their scorecard at their fingertips. All right. I'm going to stop my share on this brief intro deck, and I'm going to put a poll out to the audience to get things cracking here. So I'll publish this poll. What excites you the most about smart layouts? Please feel free to engage with that. We're not going to be harvesting your data on this response. It's all anonymous, and we're just kind of getting an idea of who's here and, kind of why you're interested in this webinar. This particular poll, you can feel free to submit multiple responses. So all the things that excite you most, feel free to do them all. All right. And then next, I'm going to move along into a product demonstration. So the product we're going to be starting with is the Map Manager page, which is part of a larger suite of Course Ambassador tools. Hopefully you've poked around with them a little bit, and hopefully we'll be able to give you some more advanced best practices knowledge here today. All right. So while I am pulling this up, I'm going to briefly give you a sense of the why. Let's answer the big question. Why should you even make smart layouts? There's a lot of reasons, and hopefully we'll cover the majority of them today. The smart layouts are tied to hole stats, so you get hole by hole performance data on how players are engaging with each of these configurations, T-pad to target, fairways, or holes, if you will. You're also going to have those hole stats on the monthly replay, which is a really nice little end of the month thing for the course ambassadors to get even more data about how people are playing your course. You get that T and target switcher within the mobile app that I mentioned is that little orange smart layout icon in the upper right of the scorecard. And then you'll also get all these course mapping tools that are on the web. And I'm on the Map Manager page right now. You can see my little tab on the left. That's a navigation menu that I clicked on Map Manager. This is the web-based course mapping tool. And I'm on my computer right now. You can scroll around. You can use the plus and minus buttons to zoom, or you can use the pinch zoom on your mouse pad. And there's even a really neat 3D image of the course. This is a pretty flat course, so maybe the 3D image isn't quite as cool and striking as a mountain course, for example, but you can do all of this on the web now. So hopefully this will make it much easier to map your course and to keep your course map updated. These are mobile-friendly tools, but I do recommend using these tools on the web because you're going to have more screen real estate. It'll just be generally easier to see all of the tools when you have a computer screen compared to a phone screen. And we're also going to be, with smart layouts comes the difficulty classifications and round ratings. And that's probably a large reason why many of you are here. We can see from the poll, the difficulty classifications are definitely important. Duca, if you'd like to give a brief intro about difficulty classifications for layouts and how those might relate to round ratings, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, thanks, David. So these two products, as David mentioned, are tied together in terms of the data that goes into them. Layout difficulty classifications, as David said, are kind of the ski slope, green circle, blue square, black diamond, double black diamond classification for how players are going to experience your layout. Is it going to be just a walk in the park, short holes, or is it going to be grueling with lots of trees and other obstacles to contend with? And the way that those are generated are from the actual scoring data that players record on your layouts, and more specifically on your specific tee to target combinations, which we're calling fairways. So this is really the big picture why for smart layouts. Why do you need smart layouts? Because this wasn't possible with what we're calling classic layouts. If you've used UDisc for a while, maybe you are familiar with classic layouts. Basically, the old way of doing things was all of the tee to target combinations were recorded at the layout level, and making a modification was sort of a lossy operation. If you move a pin from position A to position B, you just drag the target from A position to B position, and then if you move it back to A, there's no way that we know that the A from before is the same as the current A position. In short, smart layouts are a way for us to remember all of the pin changes and to match the scoring data to the specific tee and target combination that players are actually physically playing on your course. All of this data is going into layout difficulty classifications as well as round ratings. Just want to emphasize that that's the why, and in order to receive accurate layout difficulty classifications and round ratings at the end of the day, the thing that is necessary to do for your course is to make sure that your map manager and your smart layouts are matching what is physically in the ground. That's the way that we get the best matching of the scoring data to the actual fairways, tee to target combinations. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Duca. And today I'm demonstrating Bellamy Park, which is one of the most popularly played courses here in New Hampshire, where I am. And it's a good example, I think, for the Map Manager page and Smart Layouts because it has multiple tee pads and multiple target positions on each hole, an A and a B pin position, and a main tee pad and a white, which is the short tee pad. The main tee pads are all paver stones, and the white tee pads are mostly all dirt. So I am going to kind of go through a brief demo of the Map Manager updates, which are pretty brand new. And while I do this, I'm going to kind of kick it over to Noah. So some of the first things I'm talking about here when it comes to Map Manager are going to be TSign images and hole notes. And Noah has been directly involved in actually building these functionalities. So Noah, if you could talk through a little bit of what's new with Map Manager, especially hole notes and TSign images, then I'll jump into a demo in the background while you are kind of explaining what's new here.
Yeah, definitely. So now we give the ability to add TSign images and hole notes for every hole. There's a couple of different ways to add a TSign image, because you have some holes, say that have multiple T-pads, but you just have one TSign for both T-pads. So if that's the case, then you'll just want to come to this hole page and then go to the top, click on the edit hole icon there. And then on that page, which is just a settings page for that specific hole, you can upload your TSign, which will be applied to all T-pads on that hole. But in the other case, say you have 3 T-pads on each hole, and each T-pad has a different TSign image, then we also allow that, and then you would just scroll down. I'll wait for David to be able to show it off. Yeah. So then instead of editing the hole at the top, you would go down to each T, or you could click on the T on the map and then edit it from there. And then you can see you can also add the TSign from this page, which will only be applied to that T instead of all of the T's on that hole. So just provides a few different ways to do that, depending on how that works for your course. And then you can also add notes as well for the hole and the T. So that is very nice as well, and those will be displayed to anyone playing the course on the app as they're on that hole. And then a few of the other changes, overall, as David mentioned, the look and the feel to these pages, Map Manager especially, but also the layouts page, is new and updated and should be nicer to use, hopefully more intuitive. And one of the big changes is on these hole pages. Anyone who used the previous version of this knows that at the bottom you just had a list of paths, which could be confusing, especially when you have like 3 T-pads and 3 pin positions per hole, because you just have a bunch of paths with names and it would just be kind of a mess. So now we have just kind of more of a T-centric view. So it's closer to what you see when you look at a TSign. So like on the right side, we have our T's, and then under each T, we have the targets that are associated with that T. And then to edit a fairway, which is what we previously called a path, which fairway is just a unique combination of T-pad to target. To edit that, you can either go on the right and click one of the pencils by a target, or as David was showing, you can click on one of the lines between a T-pad and basket and then click edit, and it will bring you to this page on the right, which you can add notes for that fairway and update the par and do other things. So one other addition we have now is this low play count status text, which will be present on fairways or baskets for each T-pad that do not have enough data for UDisc to use that to contribute to the rating for the round. So essentially just not enough people have played it yet. But this is okay, because we don't need every hole of the entire course to have a high play count in order to assign a rating. We only need 3/4 of the holes to not have this low play count status text on it in order to assign a difficulty and a rating. So this can be used to say decide to put the baskets in positions that do not get played as often, and then once you do that, within no time, especially if it's a busy course, you'll have people playing that basket T-pad combination, and then this message will go away, and then we will have enough data to accurately contribute that hole to the overall rating. And as Duca was saying, one of the most important things with this is that you don't just want to select like the low play count just so that people will play it without actually moving the basket. You always want what's selected as active on Map Manager and Quick Targets to reflect the actual physical basket location, because that keeps our data accurate, and that allows the ratings that are assigned for rounds to be more accurate than if you have people playing to baskets that are not what is actually in the ground. So yeah, you can use that low play count to possibly also see why some rounds are not being given ratings as well. If like half of the holes have that, then you will not be having ratings for those rounds. But within no time, people will be playing those fairways. So then ratings will then be able to be given to those rounds. And so yeah, that's a good overview of some of the new changes to Map Manager. And if there's any confusion at all throughout this, we have FAQs and articles up on our website that you can view. And then we also have an amazing customer success team to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Noah. And this, what is this little explainer will point you towards some of those FAQs, specifically for this low play count warning, which is only applies to the white tee pad to a pin position fairway. So not a lot of people actually play the white tees here at Bellamy, and hole one is almost never in the A position. So that's why that particular fairway has a low play count and wouldn't be contributing to the layout difficulty classification for the white tees layout, for example. However, that low play count indicator, as Noah mentioned, might be a good little sign to the course ambassadors here at Bellamy that they should just move the pin into the A position every once in a while so that they can start collecting more performance data and have more statistically significant data regarding how people are engaging with the this particular fairway. And I'm sure there's a couple others that are similar from the white tee to the lesser used pin position that are going to have that same low play count indicator. All right, so a couple of other things that I want to show while I'm on the Map Manager page. We're not going to be going into everything on Map Manager today because it is a smart layouts webinar, not a Map Manager webinar. So I'm going to briefly just show you how you can add a new fairway if you're playing like a Safari configuration, for example. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the tee that I'm playing from, hole one's tee, and say add fairway. And there's a handful of different ways that you can do this, but this I think is probably the easiest and most straightforward. So I'm playing from hole one's main tee over to hole 10's B position basket. So there you go. That's my little Safari fairway. And then you'll notice this little dot on the yellow dashed line. The little dot allows you to add a dogleg. And there is a slight left to right here on this dogleg. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. And then you can feel free to, change the par. This is pretty far. Maybe I would call it a par 4. And obviously it's a brand new fairway. So it starts as low play count. Once you get enough unique players having a scorecard with this fairway on their scorecard, then that low play count warning will disappear, and you'll see a layout difficulty classification for the related layout, as long as at least 3/4 of the holes on that layout have sufficient performance data. So hopefully that makes sense, and we're not beating a dead horse here. We're just trying to be super thorough at covering what is new here. All right, I'm not actually going to add this Safari hole, so I'll save it briefly and then I'll go back in and delete it because people really probably shouldn't be playing to hole 10's basket. It's a little bit blind because hole 10 is uphill, so I feel like that could be dangerous, and that is one of the reasons that we're cautious with any recommendations regarding Safari layouts is for safety. All right. I did already do a big no-no before the webinar. I deleted a T position on hole 15, and I deleted the white T. The reason I did that is just to demonstrate an error state on the smart layout. And so you'll see there is no white T here on hole 15. And when I go over to my smart layouts, there's going to be a problem with the white T's layout. You'll see the main layout, which also has its companions, a front 9 subsection of the main layout and a back 9 subsection of the main layout. Those are all fine. They have their layout difficulty classifications, they're active. Those are in really good shape, and that's what hopefully your smart layouts will look like after this webinar, after we've learned a little bit. But then the white T's layout needs attention. One cool thing is you'll still see that layout difficulty classification. It still has plenty of fairways with sufficient performance data to give this short technical layout difficulty classification, which you'll notice is different. It's shorter than the main T's layout, but there's this big error warning message that says hole 15 is invalid. That's because the white T's layout is coming from the white T, obviously, and there is no white T on hole 15 anymore. So that's why you're getting this big red warning with the needs attention. If you have this needs attention warning on one of your layouts, then you'll need to go back to the map manager page. And that's why I started this webinar on the map manager page, because it's basically a prerequisite before you can get your smart layouts up to date. You can think of it as the map manager page is like a flyover of your course. If you were to fly over your course, you would see every single tee pad and every single target position, and that's what the map manager page is representing. Once you have all of those elements, tee pads, targets, and the fairways that go from tee pad to target on your map manager page, then setting up your smart layouts is a breeze. But if you have issues on your map manager page, like a non-existent white tee on hole 15, for example, then you're going to see some errors, and then you'll have to do a little bit of clicking back and forth between map manager and the smart layouts page. I am just going to do this brief one to resolve that bad feeling of the error state. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new tee position. I already clicked onto hole 15 here from the bottom navigation menu. So that brought me right into this view on hole 15. I'm going to add the new tee position for hole 15, which is right about here. You put the dot where the front of the tee pad is. I confirm it. It already knows that it's part of hole 15. And then I'll just say, okay, this is the white tee. It's dirt. And that is that. So one of the cool things is the paths, or the fairways, I should say, are automatically populating here. So now you have white to B and white to A, even though the course is not in the A position right now on hole 15. That would be a playable path when the volunteers over at Bellamy switch over the pin positions to the A. Then players will be able to have that on their scorecard accurately. So I'm going to just submit this change. And you can see here this big blue button in the upper right, review and submit changes for approval. You will need to do that when you make changes on the map manager page. So don't make changes and then just forget about them. None of those changes will be reflected or available when you go into smart layouts until you submit it for approval. And the UDisc customer success team, which includes Jen and myself, we're very quick at reviewing things for approval, getting things approved promptly if they're appropriate, or in some cases, getting changes rejected if they're not appropriate or they seem incorrect. So I'm always happy to give you guidance on how to do things. If you have some complicated changes, please don't be shy to reach out to the customer success team. I'm going to go ahead and submit this change for approval. And I know, between the colleagues of mine who are on the call right now, that I'll probably get this approved pretty quickly. And in general, it's going to be, even if it's on a weekend, our team prides ourselves in promptness at reviewing and approving changes. So that is adding back the tee that I already had deleted in advance. Now you can see, okay, great, we have 2 T's per hole. So there it says 36 total T's, which is correct. So that just gives you kind of an overview of your course and the number of T's and targets and all that good stuff. All right, let's go ahead back to the layouts page. And awesome, this white T's layout is already all set. I didn't even have to do anything on the actual smart layout because the change was approved on the map manager page. Now the smart layout is already good because it already knew we were playing from the white T's. That's how we had configured this smart layout, is from the white T's, which now exists. So that's why you don't see any of those red warning messages. We're where we want to be now with all 4 of these layouts: main, white T's, and the main front and main back 9 hole layouts. I'm going to put up another poll just to kind of get an idea of where the audience members' smart layouts are at right now. So do you have smart layouts at your course? And, this is a pretty straightforward question. Do you have classic layouts also? Maybe it's a combination of some smart and some classic layouts. So please feel free to engage with the poll. Awesome. It looks like a lot of folks have classic layouts as well, in which case on this layouts tab, which is now where I am, I finally got to the layouts tab, you're going to be able to see a convert to smart layout button. Instead of deactivate or edit, which are the buttons you'll see here for an active smart layout, the convert to smart layouts button allows you to quickly update your classic layout into a smart layout. And these smart layouts are not only already in good shape in that they don't have warning messages, but they also already have layout difficulty classifications, because this is one of the most popularly played courses in the state. And people love playing even the front 9 and back 9 subsections of the main layout. People even play the white T's layout from the dirt T's enough to get layout difficulty classifications. The layout difficulty classifications are pretty closely tied with round ratings. So in general, once your layout has a layout difficulty classification, like this blue mid-length technical classification, for example, then that's a good sign that it will also produce round ratings for those who create a scorecard and score their round on that smart layout. You would need version 18 or newer of the mobile app in order to receive a round rating, and it would also have to be scored on one of these smart layouts with a difficulty classification. Duca, if you'd like to talk a little bit more about round ratings, I think that's probably one of the hot ticket items here to discuss. So if there's anything else you'd like to add on round ratings, now's a great time.
Yeah. As David said, round ratings are fairly new, and they provide a way for players to basically measure their performance even across different courses and different types of courses. Where maybe it's hard to compare an even score at a shorter, more open course to an even score at a more tight technical or longer course. Round ratings provide that point of comparison and say, hey, you scored even at both of these courses, which score was actually better, or whatever scores you actually get. So that's what round ratings are, and they're again, just like layout difficulty classification, they're tied to hole by hole playing data, scoring data from people who have played on your course and on any course in the UDisc database. So again, what I want to emphasize here is that the accuracy of both of these systems, round ratings and layout difficulty, is tied to the accuracy of the map and the layouts on your course. It only works with smart layouts because that's the only way that we can get that accurate hole by hole scoring data. But it's crucial to have the highest quality data to have your smart layouts be representative of what is currently in the ground at your course. So I think David's going to demonstrate a really nice, quick, easy way to make sure that when you move a basket from A to B, for example, those are up to date in your map and on your layouts. Back to you, David.
Thanks, Duca. Awesome. Yes, I sure am going to demonstrate that. So I'll go ahead and do that briefly. The quick targets functionality, which is a really neat tool, especially for these courses like Bellamy Park that have multiple pin positions, but only one basket actually physically in the ground at any given point in time. So when you go ahead and whoever is involved in your course changes the pin positions, you can hit this quick targets tab on your course ambassador tools in order to just briefly update every single hole that you've physically changed the pin position for, and so that it will update across all of the smart layouts that have these holes. And so I'm going to go ahead and briefly show you. It's pretty straightforward. That hole 1, if it's now in the A position, you just say, okay, hole 1 is now in the A position. Hole 2, same thing. And you can do this just for the holes that you changed. So if you only changed with the positions for holes 1 and 2, then it's just doing exactly what I just did, changing that for 1 and that for 2. Don't touch the other ones if you didn't move the pins on the other ones. And then you get this brief, just a little heads up that these layouts are all going to be impacted by changing holes 1 and 2 pin positions. Obviously, the main back 9 layout is not impacted because we didn't change any of the back 9 pin positions. But if I change, hole 17 to the A position, then there it goes. There's main back 9 right now, and you just hit this big orange apply changes button to do everything in one fell swoop. So you don't have to click around a map manager. You don't have to have any players with incorrect layout data on their scorecards. And that way, the players don't have to use that little orange smart layouts icon in the upper right of their scorecard, although they still do have that ability to say, oh, actually, this layout doesn't accurately reflect the way that I'm playing today. This quick targets functionality allows you to make sure everything within UDisc matches the state of your course in the ground, if you will. I'm not going to apply these changes because we did not change the pin positions for Bellamy. I don't want to confuse anyone, especially since this is such a popularly played course that there are definitely going to be people playing today. It's beautiful in New Hampshire today. So I am going to show you how to create a new smart layout. And I actually have a poll when it comes to quick targets, so I might as well put that up here. This is our last poll of the day, so the last chance to engage with the polling functionality is just, in general, do you use quick targets? Hopefully it's not what are they again, because we just kind of went through what they are. But even if it is, what are they again? Please feel free to let us know. Do you use quick targets? Obviously, if your course only has one pin position for every hole, there's not really any need for quick targets because you're not changing the pin position. This is a really sweet functionality for courses with multiple pin positions if the baskets aren't all physically in the ground at the same time. If everything is simultaneously playable, again, you don't really need to change what is an active pin position because everything is active. But at Bellamy, it's just either A or B is playable, not both. All right. I'm going to add a new smart layout, and that'll be kind of the last piece of this demonstration. So we're starting to wind down on the webinar. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them into the questions section of the webinar software or the chat functionality, and our team will be happy to get to any questions there are. So let's go ahead and add a new smart layout. I'll add the winter layout here at Bellamy. It's really just holes 1 through 11, and most people play it from the main tees. The paver stones tend to be pretty good even in wintertime when we get a lot of snow and ice up here in New Hampshire. So it's just holes 1 through 11. This is an 18-hole course, and so when you create a new smart layout, UDisc is going to give you 18 holes. You can just hit this little trash can icon next to the extraneous holes that you don't have to remove them. So I'm hitting a little trash can icon down to 11 because this is only an 11-hole smart layout that I'm creating. The winter layout is really just main to whichever basket is in position on holes 1 through 11. And here, this cool little blue section allows you to do everything with less clicks of a button. So you're playing from the main tee, and you're playing to the target type Mach 7. That's what kind of targets we have here at Bellamy. I definitely recommend using the target types, not the target positions, because if you were to fill everything in with target position A, not all of these holes are even in the A position. It's a mix of A and B here at Bellamy. And target positions wouldn't automatically update when you switch quick targets, for example. The quick targets is asking you where is the Mach 7, which position is the Mach 7 in, not like which position is the A, and that doesn't make any sense anyway. So definitely recommend use the target type, and I would recommend also use the T position. Although if you know your course really well, you know, these T types can be perfectly fine to use as well. I'm just trying to save you some time, and that's what this blue auto filler does, is once you hit apply to all holes, you save yourself a bunch of time and effort, and then everything is filled out. I could even scroll to the bottom and submit this layout as is. Here's the orange submit this layout button. But before I do that, I'm going to briefly just explain a couple of things to make sure that you are aware of what you're doing when you're creating a new smart layout. The number of holes on the smart layout, first of all, is set. So if you're adding a 19-hole layout, you cannot edit an existing 18-hole layout to upgrade it into a 19-hole layout. You would have to add a new smart layout, the 19-hole smart layout. That's why I created a new smart layout to create this 1 through 11 layout. I'm not going to try to add 2 holes to the front 9, because that's, first of all, not even possible. And second of all, then the front 9 layout wouldn't exist, which a lot of people like to play just the front 9. So the number of holes is set. If you go to the bottom, you know, you see this blue add hole button with the plus. That's how you would make it a 12-hole layout, for example. And as you saw just a moment ago, hitting the trash can icon is how you remove any holes that are not part of that layout. So please make sure you have the right number of holes. And I also recommend just making sure that all of these fields, T and target, are filled in. You will get a little red warning if it's not filled in, but that's going to be one of the reasons that your smart layout cannot be submitted, is if you have blank fields on the T or target fields. All of these drop downs need to be filled in. And again, this blue field allows you to kind of autofill them all in one fell swoop. I guess I probably should have kept that that Safari configuration over to the hole 10 pin position. This is how you'd be able to select that, is you'd actually see hole 10 Mach 7 as one of the available target types when you are filling in the target for a specific hole. And so that's how you'd be able to do a target, a Safari type configuration. If it is a safe, fair way to play, then you can select that hole 10 Mach 7 from the drop down menu here under targets. You can also override a hole note. So here, let me just make sure you see this. Override this note. That is for a hole that already has a note. And you saw me add that water is casual note earlier in the demo here. If I hit override this note, then I can change it for the layout specifically. The river usually doesn't freeze over, but sometimes it does. And if it is a winter layout, then it might be nice to winterize the whole note a little bit. So the ice is casual, and I could even be really specific and say, okay, ice is casual, but if it goes into liquid water, then that's played as OB. So feel free to override the notes in that way. You can also override the pars. So hole 1 is definitely a par 3. But let's scroll down here to one of the trickier ones. Hole 11 is a pretty tough hole. It's not that long, but it's tight. And so if you'd like to make this a par 4 in the wintertime, feel free to do that. Change override. Okay, maybe I'll make it a par 5 because it is a really tough hole when there's snow on the ground. So that's how you can do that override. And you'll see this little reminder. You're not going to be changing hole 11's par for any of the other layouts. that include hole 11, like the back 9 main layout. That one's not going to be considered a par 4. You're only changing the par for this specific layout. And this par override is a really nice functionality for things like a juniors layout. If you would like to bump up the pars for the juniors, then that way you're not impacting that fairway for any of the other layouts that are playing from the same tee to the same target as is included in the juniors layout. Or similarly, if you're doing like an MPO layout, maybe you're changing some of the par 4s to par 3s for the big MPO throwers. And that would be a perfectly acceptable, appropriate way to use the par override functionality within the smart layout tools. All right, I've double checked all of the tees and targets have something filled in. So none of these are blank fields. That's good. The number of holes is set, like I mentioned. So it's 11 holes. That is correct. And I'm going to go ahead and hit submit layout. And I definitely recommend using these tools on the web whenever you need to make updates to your map manager or to your smart layouts directly. Use these web-based course ambassador tools. They will be the best way to make these updates. Some of these things you can update from the mobile app. And like I mentioned, even these course ambassador tools are mobile friendly in a web browser on your phone. But it's going to make your life much easier if you get familiarized with these tools on the web and get into the habit of making the updates, whether you're using the quick targets tab to change the pins on UDisc, or you're using the map manager tab to get things updated when you maybe add new gold tees to your course, for example. You would have to define where those are on the map manager page in order to be able to select gold tees for a smart layout, a gold smart layout, for example. And so I definitely recommend using the web tools to get your course up to date. That way you'll get these really neat difficulty classifications that will allow players to find a course that's suitable for their skill level. And then you'll make all your local disc golfers happy when they get round ratings as a result of playing these smart layouts that you've configured. That's pretty much everything I have for the demonstration today. Really appreciate everybody's time and your engagement. And thanks to my team, Jen, Noah, Duca, Hannah, Teresa, Becky, Kate, et al., for all your help in setting this webinar up. I know I've been talking a lot, so I'll briefly stop myself from talking. And if anything has come to mind, Noah, Duca, or Jen, that you think we should cover before we start wrapping up, then now's a great time to add any remaining 2 cents.
I'll add one small thing. The error message that you had on the layout that you then corrected in Map Manager, if for whatever reason correcting it in Map Manager doesn't fix the error message, then you should just be able to easily edit the layout and then choose the right option. I'm not positive, but there could be some times when you might still need to make that change. But I think for the most part, what David did should be the correct solution to that. And all that's necessary.
David, we have a question from Danielle about GPS capabilities in Map Manager. I know you showed this when we were in Map Manager, but if you could just demonstrate, it looks the same on WebView as well as on a mobile app, but if you could just show what it looks like when you enable GPS, if someone's walking their course and wanting to map it out using Map Manager.
Yes, you actually should be able to see a GPS capability within the Map Manager page. When you're on your mobile device, you can see that GPS functionality that allows you to plot where you actually are if you'd like to place tees and pins that way. Hopefully the satellite imagery is going to be good enough at your course that you can use the overview like I'm using right here. And you can even use the 3D view to place things accurately. But another option for you is that you can go ahead and on each hole, whether it's a tee pad or a target, you can actually place a GPS coordinate directly by hitting the little edit icon for the T-pad or the target, whether you do it from the right-hand navigation menu, or you do it from the actual T that you've placed, you can reposition it. That's this reposition functionality. And then here's use my location. So if you place something and you're not entirely sure based on the satellite imagery where it actually was, but you'd like to use your location, do it this way. Hit reposition for the target or the T, and then use my location to confirm the location. I'm on my computer and I'm 30 miles away from Bellamy, so I'm not going to use my location right now, but that's how you would do it. I do also want to briefly show you, if for whatever reason, maybe you've used a GPS mapping software outside of UDisc to get coordinates, then you can do that as well. So let's hit the main T. We'll hit this edit icon for the main T, and we'll go to advanced settings. You can do this for a target or for a T. The advanced settings will allow you to override the specific position on the map with the latitude and longitude. So if you have really bad satellite imagery at your super wooded course or super remote course, this is a good way to do it. If you have like a nice latitude, longitude coordinates already handy for your course, then you can do that to get the exact location for all the T's and targets. So that's, again, clicking on the T-pad or target, edit, and advanced settings. If you'd like to mess around with those, then that's a really good way to make it super accurate, even if the imagery is not good. I used Bellamy in part because it's a really popularly played course in New Hampshire, but also because the satellite imagery is pretty great out in Dover, New Hampshire. But obviously not every disc golf course has quite this crystal clear picture. So definitely recommend using the use my location functionality or the advanced settings to override latitude and longitude for your elements.
David, would you mind popping back over to layouts and just show what that looks like within the layout? So there are a few layouts that actually have that overridden.
So, all right, layouts. Some of these layouts have a distance that's overridden as well. So you can add a custom distance, which is really nice. The custom distance is the one in the parentheses here. And that will just give you more consistency so that your layout in UDisc matches what's on your TSigns, so that none of the players are grumbling about, oh, the TSign says it's 228 feet, but UDisc says it's 229, so I don't know what to believe. You can just override it, say, okay, it is 228. You don't have to bust out your distance driver for this 229-foot shot. The calculated distance is based on the GPS positioning that you put in the map manager page. And then the overriding distance is the actual, typically what's displayed on the TSign. That's what we would recommend doing for your distance override. So I'm not sure if that's what you were referring to, Jen, but that overriding distance you'll also see on the map manager page, and that's where you can configure those overridden distances. So like hole 4 here, we don't have a distance override. That's probably because it's actually 388 on the TSign, or maybe because nobody ever plays the A position. So in this example, the A position is actually active right now, so I'm guessing it's not overridden because it actually says 388 on the TSign. And these course ambassadors are quite active at Bellamy Park, that they keep everything up to date, and they do a fantastic job at that. But if I would like to change one of the T-pad or pin positions, you can go ahead and do that via this edit icon. Anywhere you see a diagonal pencil, that's editing. So you can do it from the actual element on the map, edit, or from this right-hand navigation page, edit the main T-pad GPS positioning here. Well, if there are no other questions, I just want to say thanks again, everybody, for your thoughtful questions and your engagement today. We really appreciate you coming and joining the UDisc team to see what's new about Map Manager and smart layouts and all of these other cool things like TSign images, layout difficulty classification, round ratings, whole notes. And so we would definitely encourage you to share this video. The recording of this webinar is actually the same link that you used to sign up for the webinar. And so once we get this, I think we're going to put it up on the UDisc YouTube channel. Once we get it uploaded onto YouTube, we'll be following up with an email that follows up with any questions that we might not have been able to get to during the live session today and the recording. And these are hopefully useful tools that will make the disc golf experience better for anybody who's not only maintaining a course, but is also just playing a course. So thanks again for your time and attention today. We really appreciate all the thoughtful questions. Please don't be shy to reach out to the UDisc team. help@udisc.com, HELP@udisc.com is the best way to get in touch with our customer success team, Jen and myself, and a handful of others on our team, like Becky Kate, who is helping answer questions in the background here today. We will look forward to any questions that you have, and really appreciate you being here and being part of helping your course to stay up to date and to stay accurate, so that all the data that comes from people playing your course is also accurate. So thanks again, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and say we're good to sign off. And unless anybody else would like to get a last word in edgewise, then we'll go ahead and finish up our round. So we'll go at a hole 18 just for fun. And then I'll end this webinar. Oh, what a tough finishing hole. So hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your week. Happy discing out there, and have a wonderful winter, everybody. Thanks again.
Everyone.